All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the third episode of The Peak. Welcome if this is your first time joining us. This is The Peak, where we're providing daily teachings, workouts, and film breakdowns to help you expand your vision for your game and your life. I am PGC Director Kyle Kazuda, and I know we had originally intended for Chad Sanji to be on today. And so obviously Chad's not on right now. He had some flight cancellations and had to reschedule. So we went to the next best person on how to stay healthy in 2020, Mano Watsa. Mano, how are you today?
Hey, doing great, Kyle. Great to be on with you and to have so many members of our PGC community and those from the basketball world participating and jumping on live with us right now.
Awesome. Well, Mano's the president of PGC. We're excited that he's on with us today. And one note, if you have questions throughout this segment, there's a Q&A button that's at the bottom. Feel free to click on that. You can ask us questions. We've got our producer standing by, reading through all these questions. I'll be reading through them. And I see everybody already typing in the chat box. We'll just take about 10 more seconds. Go ahead and type in where you're from so we can see where people are coming from. I see Jonathan West from Dresden, Tennessee. I see Brooklyn, I see people from Vegas, from Chicago, Canada, Wisconsin. I love it.
Alaska.
Well, they're coming from all over, Mano. So Mano, let's dive in like we've done in the last two episodes, starting with some celebrations. As celebrations are a part of the PGC culture, we're celebrating things that we're grateful for, people in our lives that we really care about, behaviors that we want to see repeated. And so, Mano, today, let's celebrate something that you have already accomplished today. And Mano, before you go, everybody who's watching live right now, go ahead and think about something you've already accomplished today. Go ahead and put it in the chat box. And Mano, I'll pass it over to you to share what you've accomplished today, what you're going to celebrate.
Oh, yeah, I love it. You know, it's so easy to just celebrate and celebrate other things and other people. Well, we know at PGC, we celebrate all the time, but to celebrate yourself or to acknowledge your own good efforts, we're so often our own number one critic and not our number one fan. So I'm going to celebrate, Kyle. One of the things I did this morning, I got in a good chunk of reading time, reading a book, Dare to Lead by Brené Brown, and was just really pleased with getting a significant amount of reading in. What about yourself? What did you accomplish today? And looking forward to reading in the chat box the things that we had over 2,000, I think probably closer to 2,300 players, coaches, and parents sign up for today's session. So looking forward to reading what you did. Some great things in there I'm already seeing in the chat box. Kyle, what did you accomplish today?
Well, I just saw Blaine put in the chat box that she did a workout today, and I actually worked out about an hour ago in the house. I was inspired yesterday by Rudy and Tyler's segment on working out from the house, and so I just celebrate, getting the sweat in, getting ready for today's episode, and I'm excited to dive in, Mano. It's a really fun topic.
Well, hold on, just before you go there, I just want to celebrate Leaf. I just saw one of the postings, and Leaf made his mama smile today. That's pretty good. That is pretty good.
Awesome. Well, yeah, Mano, let's dive in. The topic is staying healthy in 2020. And so I know we have some things to unpack. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you're going to share some stories and some insight. And, a lot of athletes haven't given a second thought to what they put in their body. I know I hadn't for most of my career, really until I was about a senior in college, where I went from barely being able to touch the net to being able to windmill dunk. And I'm not sure if it was my strength training, my change in eating habits, or the goal was at 9 feet. But I do believe that when I changed my eating habits, I really started to feel differently. And so, Mano, my first question for you is, why does this even matter? Why is it important for athletes to give attention to what they put in their bodies?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear, Kyle, that you hadn't given it much thought, because I think a lot of athletes don't give it much thought, and it's so easy to just focus on getting shots off and getting to practices and tournaments and games and not give consideration to what we're actually putting in our bodies. And so I think there's three really simple reasons on why this is so significant. Number one, when we put good things in our body, it fuels our body with energy. And so the increased energy is going to help you not just on the court, but it's going to help you want to be on the court, because when you're feeling more energized, you're more likely to be active, more likely to get to the gym or get your workout in. But when you're eating foods that make you feel more lethargic, you're much more likely to just lie around on the couch or sleep in and not really get the things accomplished that you want to get accomplished. So that's number one, increased energy. Number two is faster recovery time. Both from a strength building perspective, you'll recover faster when you put good things in your body and nutrients in your body rather than junk in your body. But in addition to that, you'll recover faster from injury and illness. And so there's a tremendous amount of research around recovery and how significant that is. And all of us as athletes, especially to all of our players on today's call who want to maximize their performance, recovery is a critical part of that. And so that's the second reason. And then the third reason is very simply, we have to live in our bodies for life. So even beyond our competitive athletic careers, we don't get to trade in our body, and we're going to live with the consequences of what we have done with our bodies, good or bad. And so it's critical that we put good things into our bodies to ensure not only that we have increased energy and so that we feel great and can do more, not only so that we can recover faster, but so that we can live healthy all our lives. And I want to live not just a long life, I want to live a long and healthy life. And I think everyone on this call does as well. Regardless of our age, we set ourselves up for a better future if we do good by what we put in our bodies today.
Hey, Mano, well, how about right now? I mean, we're all at our houses right now. We're social distancing, we're self-quarantining. I mean, what's the importance and why does it even matter, especially going on with everything that's happened in the world today?
Yeah, well, I think it's especially imperative right now because we're not getting the movement and the activity that we probably take for granted, whether it's just walking the hallways in school or our regular basketball practices, the expenditure of energy that we have and the output of energy we're not, for the most part, having. I know my number of steps per day has dropped dramatically. And the result of that is we can have too many calories, not good calories, and not enough output. And for many of us, that can lead to weight gain and just not being in peak physical condition. And so while we're, for the most part, all at home, it's actually probably more important now than ever before for us to be really diligent with what we're putting in our bodies. And additionally, everything that we eat not only impacts how we feel physically, but impacts our mood as well. Food impacts mood. And if at a time like this, when the world is in a state of crises and when we're dealing with all sorts of different challenging situations and circumstances, I think it's critical that we're at our best. And because food affects mood, I think it's critical that we're putting good things into our bodies that will help elevate our mood, as opposed to junk that will help us to feel more depressed, more discouraged, etc.
Mano, let's talk a shift for a second. I know you have spent significant time with professional athletes, most recently 3 days with Jeremy Lin. Can you talk about how do professional athletes approach this, and do they do it the same way you're talking about? And if they do, what can we learn from them?
Yeah, it's interesting. So 2 weeks ago when I was with Jeremy in San Francisco, and we were discussing food because he eats really healthy and takes care of his body. And we were going to, every restaurant we went to was serving really clean food. And when I say clean, a lot of live food, organic, fresh. And we were having these amazing meals 3 times a day. And I asked him, does he do that year round? And he said, especially during the season, he's extra careful with what he puts in his body. He said during the off season, he'll allow himself to splurge a little bit more, but even during the off season, he's still eating really, really healthily. But the question I asked him at lunch one day was, so what about all the other players in the league, in the NBA? How do they eat? because I had heard a lot of different things, and it was really interesting. He said the vast majority of players are really, really health conscious with what they put into their bodies, because all of this research has come out in the past decade about how food impacts us in terms of energy, in terms of recovery, and all these things we've already talked about. So it was fascinating to hear. He said he's probably at the extreme end, and he's a really self-aware, thoughtful player. And so it's not surprising to hear that he's probably part of the 1%, but he said, Mano, you'd be surprised by just how high a percentage of NBA players take really good care of their bodies. And what they
really, really good. And so, Mano, let's even go one step further. I know you have a couple things, really specific things that you want to give everybody watching right now, things that they can take away from this call and actually start to do. What are those things?
Yeah, so quite simply, the best thing we can do for our bodies is to just hydrate with water. Very few of us have enough water. It's so easy to reach for that soda, that sugary fruit drink, to reach for Gatorade or Powerade or whatever it is, but nothing beats water. So rather than, Kyle, us unpacking a lot of the research, and I know we'll probably bring Chad back to jump on the peak in a week or two or a couple weeks time, and he can unpack some really in-depth teaching and the research around food and nutrition. I'm going to keep it really simple with 3 things that everyone listening, every coach, parent, and player today can do effective immediately. And the first is drink more water. And while we're at home, it's easy not to do that. You know, at schools, it's easy to walk by the water fountain and just grab a drink of water. But when you're at home, you have to be a little bit more intentional. So my recommendation is to fill up some type of pitcher or water jug. So here's mine. I'm at a hotel right now. And so I have been drinking 2 of these a day, not including any water when I'm out of my hotel room. So what I'd like to do to make this super practical, Kyle, is I'm going to invite you to go find a water jug or a pitcher that you can use for water. And I'm going to give everyone listening, you've got your first assignment. Go find a jug. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. What can you use from today forward to be your water container? Go grab it now. Kyle's doing the same. You got 30 seconds. Go to your kitchen. If you're on your phone, you could just walk with it. If you're in front of your computer, just put your computer down and go grab it. Once you've grabbed your water jug, and some of you might have a water bottle that you regularly use, just type into the chat box, I've got it. Mason with a broken foot, you might have to have somebody grab it for you. Just type in once you're back and once you've got it. And then the goal will be just to...
Oh, sorry. I thought we were drinking right out of it. My fault.
Not yet. Hey, let's see what you got there, Kyle. Oh, you're drinking right out of the jug. You're a beast. Right out of the container.
Right from the source.
Yeah, so that's probably, well, I don't know if that's quite the source, but that's... So if you were to get done 2 of those a day, you'd be hydrating pretty well. And depending on the size, okay, lots of you are coming back with your water. So that's the first challenge. First challenge is replace your sodas, pops, Cokes, fruit drinks, replace them as much as possible. If any of you are coffee drinkers, attempt to minimize those things and just simply drink more water. I finish 1 of these before I even have breakfast each morning. So I'm 3 or 4 glasses in, and I think it's one of the best ways to start your day. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. And so that's the first one.
All right. Mano, I don't know if you mentioned this because I do something similar to you. If you do what you just said, you're going to pee a lot. Is that true?
No, that is very true.
Okay.
That is very, and if your pee is clear, you know you're probably getting a pretty decent intake of water. If you find yourself thirsty through the day and your pee is yellow, or starting to look even dark orange or brown, you're in trouble. You're dehydrated. If your pee is green, call a doctor.
Awesome. Well, Mano, hydrate was the first one. What was the next one you had?
Second one is eat more live foods. One of our players or coaches typed into the chat box, what is live food? Live food, fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables, or anything that hasn't been yet cooked. And my recommendation is, and all of you are at different points in terms of your healthy eating. It's been a 20-year journey for me, but my recommendation is to try and have some type of live food at every meal. So it might be with your breakfast to have a banana or an apple or an orange. In your lunch to have some type of vegetable or fresh vegetable. Dinner to have a salad. And, oh, I like it. Justin's eating fruit right now, even while this call is going on. So here's what I'd like to do, Kyle, to help you know your own fruit and vegetable intake. What I'd like you to do is count on your kitchen counter and your fridge how many different types of fruits and vegetables you have in your house right now. And Kyle, I'm going to ask you to do the same, and we'll do a count with how many fruits and vegetables you have at your place.
Well, Mano, just a quick note. I'm actually at Tyler Costin's house, our friend, right now. So I'm going to go into his fridge. Okay. I think we're good. I don't think he'll mind. If anybody on this call does know Tyler, though, please just don't tweet at him that I'm at his house in his fridge. Okay, so
PGC Director Tyler Costin, our Director of Player Development.
I hate to say it, but Tyler's a pretty healthy guy, right? He's got lettuce, he's got avocados, he's got spinach up here. I don't know if we should go into the freezer, though. There's some ice cream, I imagine.
Well, hey, give a quick count and then take a look at the countertop as well. And let's see, and those on the call, if you're close to your kitchen or you could be in your kitchen, do a quick count. How many fruits and vegetables do you have?
All right. And, Tyler, I just counted up. He had 15 fruits and vegetables inside of his fridge.
Wow. What type of fruits did he have?
Avocados, lettuce, spinach. He had a couple apples in there. I don't actually refrigerate my apples, but he does. So
nice.
So he had quite a few things in there.
Nice. And we've got a poll coming up. Do you have more live greens in your fridge than other items? Go ahead and fill that out. Some of you are counting quite a few zeros, some 10s, 5s, in the teens.
And it looks like, Mano, we got the results of the poll. Do you have more live greens in your fridge than other items? 55% of people said greens win. 46% said greens lose.
All right. So that means that the greater majority of you are in fact getting, or at least in your house, there's a lot of green foods or live foods. Now, my next question is, what percentage of those are you actually eating? So if you have spinach and lettuce and kale and cucumber and peppers and apples and oranges and grapes, whatever you have, what percentage of those fruits and vegetables do you actually eat? It's one thing for a parent to buy them and bring them home. It's another for you to actually consume them. Go ahead and put in what percentage of the fruits and vegetables in your house you actually consume. Quite a few 100%. So here's my challenge. You could do one of two things to get more live foods in your body each day. Number one is increase the number of live foods that you're bringing into your house. You might, if you're a player listening, you might have to ask or encourage your mom or dad to pick up some additional fruits and vegetables. Or if you're the one making the decision, buy more, or just consume a higher percentage. I would say my 3 teenage kids probably consume, Kyle, you know my 3 kids, I think they're probably at about 75%. They eat about 75%. We have a salad every night for dinner, a fresh salad with usually some spinach and lettuce and cucumbers and tomatoes and peppers every night for dinner before we have any kind of cooked food or hot food. And but my kids don't eat as many fruits, which is really interesting because I think teenagers tend to lean towards fruit rather than vegetables. But the goal is number 2. So number 1, hydrate more. Fill your pitcher. See if you can complete it every single day. You've got your pitcher, finish it, maybe even 2. And then number 2, try and have live fruits or vegetables every meal.
And Mano, this will be my last question for you and a final note on this. There's a lot of questions. I was just looking in the question and answer box, and a lot of people are saying, should I do intermittent fasting? What do you think about that? Should I do this other diet here or this diet over here? And could you give a principle to, when thinking about food, instead of going deep into each one of these diets right now? We only have about 60 more seconds on this right here, but go 60 seconds, Mano, a principle to live by when thinking about food.
Yeah, I think about it this way. Every decision you make is either helping or hurting you. And you're strengthening habits. Everything you do is strengthening a habit that's helping you or hurting you. So I like to say, attempt to get fresh obsessed, attempt to reduce the amount of, and this would be my third piece for today, reduce the amount of junk food that you consume, especially when you're at home and with all of our players who don't have to get up for school the next day. It's really easy to stay up late on your phones or watching a movie and just reach for that bag of chips or candy or whatever it might be. And my recommendation would be, here's the third action item. Throw those in a bag somewhere if you can. Your siblings or parents might not like it, but throw it in a bag or put it in a box and put it somewhere where it's actually hard to access. So the principle would be, make it easy to access things that are good for you. Make it hard to access things that aren't as good for you, so you're not as likely to reach for it as often. And so, Kyle, for you, that might be, what's your treat of the night that you're most likely to gravitate towards, Kyle?
Oh, I like little chocolate kisses.
Okay, so the little chocolate kisses. So, to treat yourself to those once or twice a week, not a problem. The principle is what you do the majority of the time. So if you have ice cream once a week or those chocolate kisses once or twice a week in small quantities, not going to have a huge impact. What you want to do, though, is pay attention to what you're doing every single day. So if you were to take those chocolate kisses, throw them in a box or bag, and put them somewhere hard to access, what would be a hard to access place for you?
I could put up, I have a really high shelf that I have to get up on the countertop like a young kid to get to.
Yeah, well, that would be the ticket. So whether it's a closet, whether it's a cold room in a basement, just make the things that aren't as healthy harder to access than the things that are healthy, and keep the things that are healthy visible. So that would be a final principle. If we get into some of the things like specific diets, the moment you think diet, you think short term. What I think we want to focus on is a way of life, taking care of our bodies as a way of life. And so those three principles: hydrate more. Number two, very simply, eat more live foods at every single meal. And number three, especially at night before you go to sleep, but as much as possible all day long, reduce the amount of junk food. You'll be well on your way to increasing your energy, recovering faster, and positioning yourself for lifelong health.
Mano, really, really good. And I have a challenge for everybody as we close the call, and it's this. Take one thing you learn. In fact, take 5 seconds right now and think about someone else that you can go share at least one of the things that you learned from Mano just now. Who can you go share that with and teach them about it? Because when you teach somebody else, that really helps to cement the learnings and retain the information. I love this quote from the French author. His name is Joseph Joubert. He said, "To teach is to learn twice. To teach is to learn twice." So when you get off this call, go find your brother, sister, mom, dad, text somebody, call somebody, and share one thing you learned so you can retain that further. And Mano, I'm going to pass it right back to you for any final thoughts before we close out.
Yeah, my final thought is what I said earlier. Everything you do is strengthening a habit that's either helping you or hurting you. So be really mindful of the habits that you're creating for yourself, especially around what you put into your body each day.
Awesome, Mano. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us on The Peak. Keep an eye out tomorrow. There's going to be an email coming probably tomorrow afternoon or evening that will release next week's lineup on The Peak. We'll be going all 5 days, Monday through Friday next week. He's Mano. I'm Kyle. This is The Peak. See you all next week.
Hey, Kyle, just before you jump off,
yeah.
I just want to mention, because some of our players and parents have been asking about this.
Yeah.
It's one thing to know what to do. It's another to be able to consistently do it. And so I just wanted to mention, because some of you have been asking, we're working hard to figure out how to best do this. But some of you have said, okay, I know what to do with my training, or I know what to do with my eating, or I know what to do with my rest recovery, whatever it is, my habits, but I'm challenged to actually live it out day to day. And so I just wanted to mention to all of our parents, players, and coaches, we're working to figure out a solution to that as quickly as possible, especially while players are at home and not going to school. Habits are being compromised with all this additional time. And so just know that we're working on figuring out how we can best support our players through this time frame. And we're going to come up with a solution really soon here to be able to support you, to help you as players actually be able to live out day to day the habits that we're emphasizing on the peak.
Awesome, Mano. Well, my favorite quote from today, Mano, was the one you said, your food is mood. The food is the mood. Yeah, I think you said it like that. But we'll close it out with that, Mano. Thanks for that last share, and thanks for everything you shared. We'll see everybody back next week on the 4th episode of The Peak. Stay healthy, everybody.
Thanks for having me on, Kyle. Great job. As always, my friend, snaps to you and to the 2,000 plus who dialed in and tuned in for today's peak. Really great to have you all with us.
Awesome. See you, Mano.